Hello, seventh grade. Today I'm going to be showing you our week 5 goals and introducing you to our processing activity for our lesson on Hinduism. So let's go ahead and hop into it. So the big idea for this week is that last week we did a lot of learning about Hinduism. We looked at a lot of different aspects of Hinduism, which we'll take a look at in just a little bit. So this week we're going to be processing a lot of those ideas, and we're going to be creating a short Google Slides presentation to show what we've learned about Hinduism. So our learning goal is that you're going to show your understanding of Hinduism using this Google Slides presentation. And there's a few things that we have to do in order to get going on that. So let's go ahead and take a look at Google Classroom. So the first thing you'll do is you're going to finish up section 4. This is kind of the last section that we need to look at. And this is going to look at the deities of Hinduism. Deities meaning gods and goddesses of Hinduism. It's a pretty short section, but it's going to give you a lot of great information to use. And you'll fill out the notebook and do the reading on that. I'll talk about that in class with you. This is for your tutorial video, what you're watching right now. It's not loaded yet, just in draft form, but by the time you watch it, it'll all be put together. The processing activity is the activity, of course, that we do at the end, and that's what this tutorial is all about. So we're going to be looking at our Hinduism presentation. So the first thing I just want to kind of glance at, but look at the rubric. Rubric is made up of 6 parts. It'd be graded on your title slide, which is worth 5 points. Pictures, you need to have 2 pictures for each of your slides. And then what I've done is I've graded you on your different parts of your presentation. So there are really 4 main parts: the origins of Hinduism, Hinduism, their beliefs, Hindu practices, and Hindu deities, or the gods and goddesses. What I've done is I've outlined a lot of questions. They'll say, write a paragraph addressing questions such as, and they'll say that for each one. And these questions are also in your presentation template that I'm going to be sharing with you, and we're going to be taking a look at in just a little bit. What I'm grading you on is your ability to kind of address these questions. You don't have to address all of them, but what I'm really giving you with these questions is a great starting point. So for instance, origins of Hinduism, write a paragraph addressing questions such as, where did Hinduism come from? Which group of people started Hinduism? How was it established? What are the religious texts of Hinduism? Those are just a few questions that you could address in your paragraph looking at Hinduism. And this is the same for each part. Each of these is worth 20 points, and the pictures are worth 15 points. So that's the rubric. So let's go ahead and take a look at the actual activity, which is right here. I have it open already, so let's go ahead and take a look. So you'll all receive the same template, and that template has 5 different slides. I'm going to start off with your title slide. I'd like everyone to keep Hinduism as their title, but I'd like you to make a new subtitle. It says your subtitle here. And I'm going to give you a piece of advice. Come up with your subtitle after you've done maybe 1 or 2 slides. You might have a difficult time coming up with a good subtitle for Hinduism, but you might be inspired after doing a little bit more research and a little bit of work on your presentation. What I'm looking for here is maybe something that describes Hinduism, something that you'll remember about Hinduism, something that makes it unique and special. The other thing you need is your name. That'd be first and last name. And I'm not against you using any themes. I just ask that if you do use a theme, that it's easy to read. Contrasting colors are great. Easier to read is better for me. All right, so I'm going to keep it white and black for now, but you can go ahead and change it to your desired color later on, your desired theme. I should note that at the bottom of each of these slides, there's a notes section. It's something that not everyone understands about Google Slides. I've included in each of the notes sections some instructions and some reminders. So my first reminder to you is that you should not be copying or pasting any information from these sources. You should not be copying and pasting information from the textbook, the PDFs, your atlas, anything. That is considered plagiarism, and it will result in a 0. I did have a couple of instances in our last processing activity where people were cutting and pasting, and I had to address those in more of a warning type manner. So from here on out, please make sure that anything that you do, you are putting into your own words. I'd actually even prefer that you're not using direct quotes. A lot of times people were using direct quotes, but you were using 2 or 3 sentences worth of direct quotes, and that's simply not what we're looking for here. Use your own ideas, use your own sentences. What I also have is a comprehensive list of all the resources that we've been using over the past more than a week. So it says, use the following resources to complete your presentation. All of these resources can be found under week 4 on Google Classroom. I'll show you that. So if you go to week 4, that's right here. All of these resources can be found here, including the atlas, the Ed puzzle, your sections, and your reading on Hinduism and India's castes. I guess there's one section that would technically not be in week 4, and that is section 4 that you just did. So all but one of them would be in week 4. So let's go ahead and preview some of our materials that we used last week. Start off with TCI. So the first thing that we looked at was the origins of Hinduism, section 1. And it has a lot of information here that you've already gone through. What you might want to try doing is looking back at your checking for understanding and even looking at your notes section. A lot of times you've done a lot of the really tough work of making sense of all the information. So you can pull a lot of what you've done right here. So that's section 1, the origins. We also did section 2, which looks at Hinduism and social structure, specifically looking at the caste system. And again, you do have a note section that you already did to help you make sense of this section. The last section that you looked at was about deities, the gods and goddesses. So feel free to go back and look at that section as well. And again, take a look at your checking for understanding, which will go over a lot of the vocabulary and how you made sense of everything in your notebooks as well. The next material that you can use is the atlas, and this was used for the atlas activity. And I think that this atlas will go a long way with your information on the origins of Hinduism, where it came from, who was involved in it, in the creation of it. This PDF here, I think, is going to be extremely valuable, this reading on Hinduism. Actually, if you really look closely, you're going to notice that 3 out of the 4 slides are actually connected directly with each of these paragraphs. What are the origins of Hinduism? What do they believe in? And what are some of their practices? So you can really pull a lot of your basic ideas out of here and even add to it. The second part of it gets into the caste system, and of course, you can look at that and use that as well. Lastly, and I know you've already watched this video, the Hinduism 101 video, but it might be a good idea to revisit this if you are kind of lacking in ideas, or if you need just a refresher on things. He does a really good job of keeping things very, very simple, and it's only 8 minutes long. So if you watch this and you take some good notes, or have it in front of you while you're working on your presentation, I think it's going to really help you out. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to our first slide. I'd like you to keep the basic format the same. Don't change these boxes here at all. Keep the title the same because it's going to be the same title for everyone. But what you can do, of course, you can change your theme to make it your own. And you can, of course, add some pictures in. And you can add pictures in on this right-hand side here. However you want to put those in is totally up to you. So Origins of Hinduism is our first slide. And what I've done is I've included in the notes, and it's very important that you look in the notes. I've included in the notes some questions to guide you. Again, you don't have to answer all of these questions explicitly, but you should make a concerted effort to include some of the information that might come up here. So, for instance, you have question 1. Where did Hinduism come from? So you could think about that question, and you could go into some of your suggested resources. And what I've done is I've kind of cut down from the original list of resources to the ones that I think might lend themselves a little bit better to this question. Same with number 2, which group of people started Hinduism and how was it established? What are the religious texts of Hinduism described? All of these questions we've touched upon when we've looked at these resources here. So now it's your job to take these ideas and take everything that we've learned and put it into a simple paragraph right here, explaining the origins of Hinduism. Now you're going to do the same thing for your next 3 topics. Your second topic about Hinduism is beliefs of Hinduism. So what do Hindus believe? That would be our first basic question. What are the basic beliefs of Hinduism? Do Hindus believe in a prophet or a central figure? Do they believe in a god or gods? What is reincarnation? How does reincarnation work? And what is the caste system? These are all valid questions that could go along with the beliefs of Hinduism. And I want to restate that you don't have to answer these questions all in a row. You don't need to number these and make any, answers to these questions. It's really about writing what you know about the beliefs of Hinduism and going along with that, using the questions to guide your ideas. I have your suggested resources here right down at the bottom, and that is beliefs of Hinduism. Hindu practices. Hindu practices looks at what do Hindus do within the religion of Hinduism. So I have just a couple of questions here, a few things to think about. What are some rituals that the Hindus practice? And do Hindus have any holidays or traditions? I know in the Edpuzzle video, and I think I use this one quite a bit because he touches upon a lot of ideas in his video about Hinduism. It is Hinduism 101 after all. That might have some great information for you. The other one is Hinduism and India's castes reading. Specifically, this Hinduism reading, I think, is going to have some really good ideas for the practices of Hindus. And again, just like on the last slide and this slide, on the right-hand side, feel free to put in some pictures to illustrate your ideas. The last slide is about Hindu deities. So deity, all that really means is a god or a goddess. So our questions here are, do Hindus believe in one god or many gods? And I know this was kind of touched upon previously, right? Do Hindus believe in a god or gods? A lot of this stuff can be interchangeable, but we're really just going to focus on gods and goddesses for this particular slide. Who are some of the gods and goddesses that Hindus believe in? There's going to be a number of them mentioned in section 4, and You can also, of course, include pictures of some of those gods. It's a quick Google search to find some of them, and some of them are pretty impressive. Speaking of pretty impressive, what are some of the characteristics and powers of these gods and goddesses? Looking at, what makes them special as a god or a goddess, or what makes them unique. And then finally, and this is an important question, who is Brahma and why is he considered to be an important god? And this is where Hinduism kind of blurs the lines between being monotheistic and polytheistic, where they have one god, Brahma, but they also have other gods as well. But those gods are actually considered to be a part of Brahma, so whether it's polytheistic or monotheistic is up for debate. I have your suggested resources, which include section 4, which you just looked at, Edpuzzle, the Hinduism 101, and the India's Caste reading. So this is just a quick rundown of your presentation that you're going to be working on. And you're going to have some time to work on this. You're going to have a few days to work on this, and we're going to be working on it together. So I hope you have a lot of fun showing off what you've learned about Hinduism. It shouldn't be a lot of new stuff. It should really just be showing your understanding of it. And I really hope to see some excellent presentations on Hinduism.